Hello and welcome, I'm Peasant, and today I'm going to be doing a 0 difficulty Overexplain run of Vital Strength of the Earth. This does have events and tokens in. If you don't like that, look up Spirit Island 0, and there's a similar run like this, but for pure base game. Anyway, that's that. What's Vital Strength of the Earth about? Well, mild controversy here. There are a couple of ways you can go with Vital Strength of the Earth. You can try and play into this innate. That's hard, and that might just never pan out for you. Or you can kind of play towards major powers, and kind of doing kind of Hulk smash kinds of things. Whichever way you go, totally a very important thing to be planning your entire. Basically everything, not everything, but a lot will revolve around this Earth's Vitality rule that I'm pointing out with the mouse that's not on screen. There it is. There's the mouse. Defend 3 in every land where you have a sacred site. This is very potent. If you could set up for, you can kind of take care of a land without any big dramas with this. This is where I think a lot of the using this to take care of small problems means that you can kind of build your strength and take care of the bigger problems. Let's have a quick look at these tracks. So this is a pretty beastly energy track. Look at that, jumps from 4 to 6 there, lovely. But you'll notice you start with a single play. You'll still have a single play at this point, and then it takes a while to get up to 2 plays. You are going to want to get there though. And it's still a horrible plays track, so you're probably you're not going to be playing a big playing a lot of plays in the round. That's probably hasn't really told you a lot you didn't already know, but that's life. Okay, let's look at these cards. So you notice that these are all quite expensive for innate or kind of starting cards. Let's talk through them. Year of Perfect Stillness is incredibly powerful, but there's a trap in this, and this is a trick. This spirit is strong, but it is quite easy to run out of time. A lot of spirits are more like to lose from blight being all over the place, but Earth is more inclined to lose from running out of time. So when your invader deck runs out of cards and you try and draw one and you lose that way, that's that's what will happen to this guy. Certainly that was my experience when I was first starting out with this game. We've got, this is very strong and skipping all actions, so that's builds, ravages, and explores. But you want to try and use it sparingly because it's costs you a lot of your energy and it doesn't advance the game. Nothing gets destroyed, no fear gets added. You don't gain any fear. So yeah, use sparingly. Guard the Healing Land, I think, is arguably your strongest start card. It's a fast defend card. But note the sacred site requirement. This can be tricky to set this up. This is your primary concern when you're placing presence as this spirit is either setting up for Earth's Vitality for this freebie defend 3 in every land we have a sacred site, but also for targeting this and maybe this. We'll talk about that at the end because we'll get controversial when we talk about that. So it's fast blight removal, which means that you could even use this to yoink blight out from a land that's about to ravage on top of blight, preventing a cascade. This is a very strong card. It's expensive, but it's very, 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 very worthwhile. And if you've got a Dahan counterattack, even better. But just yoinking the blight can be worthwhile. This is also a very powerful card. Gathering up to 2 explorers can potentially mean you can prevent 2 builds. Now, that won't always happen, but it might happen. The other thing is you're gathering Dahan, so you could be setting up for a lovely counterattack. And the thing is, whenever you're playing this, you will know what the ravage is. The information will be there. You will know what the ravage is going to be on the following turn. So you can set up to potentially defend, and you can set up to maybe use your Guard the Healing Land or anything else you've picked up. In addition to this, maybe, if it's a 7, this would be 3 plus 4 would be 7 defend. So you could even defend quite impressive lands, which might seem like you're spending too much resources to sort one land, but if you've got your Dahan in there to counterattack, then you will be removing invaders, generating fear, you will be advancing towards kind of your win condition. And then we've got rituals. Now, so basically, how earlier on I said, you can go major power, or you can kind of try and work with this innate, with your gift of strength, which I haven't even talked about, right? Because this is unusual that it comes into play. This has the perfect elements for your innate, which is Day, Mountain, Green. And there are a few cards that have those elements, but not many. And because you have so few plays, without help from other spirits, it's actually really hard to get these thresholds. Which is partly why I don't tend to go for this. But let's say you do. That's one of the good things about this, is it has the perfect elements for your innate. And you can use Draw of the Fruitful Earth to set it up. So you need to do damage in with Dahan, and then if there are at least 3 Dahan, it's an additional 3 damage and 2 fear. So 5 damage, that's a city and a town, plus additional fear. It's kind of strong, but if you're looking to go for a major power early on, you're probably going to want to forget this over the others. I mean, maybe stillness. So, you know, maybe if you're going to go more along these lines, you might prefer to forget stillness, because it doesn't have the plant here. You see that these later on, you need the more plants than Day. That's kind of your decision. Draw is actually deceptively powerful. But we'll see. We'll see that in our experience. I'm more likely to go for major powers and forget this early, but it does depend what major powers were offered. So that's a general overview of this spirit. Now let's turn to this. Oh, I didn't talk about growth options. Growth options. This spirit is unusual. Every growth option places presence, so that's wonderful. The general rule of you always want to avoid reclaiming, because most spirits don't get to place presence and reclaim. You can kind of ignore that general rule. And actually, the range of the presence placement is kind of more useful, because you like to set up sacred sites for your Earth's vitality. You know, maybe you want to be thinking about your Guard the Healing Land as well for your sacred site placement. The clear MVP for me is gaining a power card, because then you could kind of. Because you're going to want... These are all kind of powerful, but they're also kind of not. So you're definitely going to want to get some more firepower. But this is a 0 range presence placement, so this might not pan out for you. It just might not pan out. But I think this is going to be more clear in practice than in blather. So let's look at the actual board. We have an open and explore in wetlands. So this is going to build a city this turn, which is kind of gross. If we wanted to, we could use Year of Perfect Stillness to actually just prevent this build, but it's a trap, I warn you. It's not only an expensive card, as in energy, but it doesn't really progress the game that much. So I'm actually more inclined to want to let this land go, but we can do something in here, right? Because we can leverage Earth's Vitality for the Defend 3. So where my presence is all the way over here, which is mildly annoying. So I think we're on C board today, or B board. I tend not to think too much about boards, but they do. A spirit like this, it will make a difference what board you're on. So I actually would love to make a sacred site in here, but the only option I have to do that is reclaim. So reclaim is going to do nothing because we have no cards in our discard pile. But it will set us up to nicely take care of this land. Obviously, events could ruin us, but we just have to accept that. So I think I'm actually going to go with this first, to set up a sacred site in here, so that we can kind of get our freebie defend. That's not even going to cost us an action. Now, which track to go? Well, I think typically, let's see. Let's actually plan our lives. So if we wanted to go two actions on next turn, we probably just wouldn't be able to afford to do that, right? Let's say we place this here. We would have, and I'm probably going to draw of the Fruitful Earth this turn. It's a good turn one play a lot of the time. We're just not even going to have the energy to play 2 cards because our start cards are so expensive. Unless we were to go for a minor power, but even then we're going to be broke, right? We're going to have 2 energy this turn, and if we went this one this turn and then this the next time, we'd have 4 energy. We actually wouldn't be able to afford to play anything apart from maybe 0 cost minor power. Yeah, so I think energy is the choice here. We're going to be on 1 action for a little while, but if we can be efficient with using our Earth's Vitality, our free defend here, we can kind of get by on on a few actions for a while. Let's not just make a... Let's just think about Rituals of the Destruction. We might use this. So you really benefit from having 3 Dahan in a land for Rituals. So I just need to bear that in mind when I'm thinking about my draw of the Fruitful Earth. So we're gonna go draw. And this is a slow power, so we're gonna get to see where the Explore... we can respond to the Explore with this. So we have the builds. We just let this one go. It's fine. And we have a Jungle Explore. Interesting. So we're now into the slow phase. We've got to decide where we do all our gathering. So, okay, we've got a very nice example of using draw to prevent 2 builds. So you always, if you can prevent builds, that's wonderful. And we can actually use draw in here to drag an Explorer from both of these lands, which is why this card is so powerful. We can even bring Dahan in here. We could bring the 2 Dahan from this land to potentially use Rituals in and just clear this land out altogether. Yeah, I mean, the other thing we could have done, if there were adjacent Dahan, is brought more Dahan in here for a stronger counterattack, but that's not happening. So yeah, this is pretty disgusting to prevent 2 builds like this. It's pretty disgusting. Okay, so now we're back to the Spirit phase. We've got this Ravage here. We need to remember to play... Note for self here. I need to remember to make this a Sacred Site. Which we could do with any of these growth options. And it doesn't feel like it's worthwhile to use Rituals of Destruction to destroy 2 Explorers here. Unless, well, here's something else. We know that this is either a sands or a mountain. We know this is just a fact. So there's a 50% chance that a town would be built here that we could then immediately destroy, but there's no rush. We could actually do this next turn if mountain shows up. It's, you know, it's got decent odds of showing up. So it feels like this is a good turn to gain a power card. We want to make a Sacred Site in here. This is the most restrictive option, so we will do that. Now we got to make the hard decision of, do we want energy or do we want a play? And this is very cheeky. These no builds here is giving us a lot of breathing room. And we will kind of, it's good to have an idea what we might do next turn. I mean, we're going to get 2 extra fear from this because of there being 3 Dahan in there. There is a small chance that that the event might upset this little balance. I don't want to do Rituals in here this turn. Yeah, I don't really want to play any of these this turn. So yeah, I think we're definitely going to be gaining a power. We're actually going to have 5 energy, maybe more if I pick this. I think I'm going to go for a major power. Now, I'm going to gain the power first. And bear in mind that I know that in this case the power is placed before, but some powers on some spirits it's not so obvious. So we're going to gain a major power, and then depending on what we see, we might forget. That will kind of determine what we forget. Oh wow, we've got some interesting stuff. So, this spirit is unusual in that this Gift of Strength is awkward. If you are going to go for this, it's the mountain green. I mean, yellow mountain green, of course, is perfect, but you kind of need more mountains and plants, or earth and plants. Got to get my language right. But let's see if we've been offered anything with mountain plant. Mountain, of course, is critical because you need loads of those. We've been offered 1 mountain card. It's one of my favourite cards, but it's not relevant here. We don't have much blight on the island, though we are going to let this land go. I may have glossed over that. I'm just committed to letting this land go. So we will have a blight in here. But honestly, I don't think that's not enough that's not enough, especially as we've got this reprieve here. We don't have, our starting blight isn't adjacent to here, so we're not going to get extra damage. So although it's tempting, I think I'm going to veer away from that. We could go Winds of Rust here, and actually we could defend in there. And the threshold is, we're unlikely to get this, not only because we're generally a low play spirit most of the time, so we don't really want to consider the threshold. It's a tricky decision. Death Falls from Open Blossoms is... It's got restricted targeting. It has... This spirit is unusual in that the elements either really matter or they don't matter at all. And I kind of think at this moment they're mostly not mattering. 4 damage and a disease token. A disease token is a one-off build prevention in that land, so they're very, very powerful. Are we ever likely to get that threshold? Not particularly. Not particularly likely. Doesn't feel like there's an obvious choice here. We could go with Winds of Rust Naturally and defend in here and downgrade the city. The good thing about downgrading a city is it means that if there are no cities on the board, you can win the game a good deal easier than if you're removing all buildings, because we could then win at Terra 3 instead of... Sorry, at Terra 2 instead of Terra 3. But I'm a big fan of Tiger's Hunting. It's like the Branching Claw Spirit Fangs, but just summed up in a major power. And it's a really good fear engine as well. This really advances the clock, because typically you're going to be destroying a town with this. And we don't have much blight on our island, so this restriction doesn't matter. And we've even got... You can even kind of go in here, do a little bit of damage. Go in here, clear these explorers, and I like getting this fear clock going. I really do, and it's so cheap that it might mean we can go. We can maybe start thinking about going down the plays track. And Winds is incredibly strong, though. Yeah, tricky. I think you can make a case for either of these. This might be the better choice, but I'm going to go Tiger's Hunting because apparently I'm in charge here. The other thing that Tiger's Hunting enables us to do is to just kind of relax in this spot a little bit. Because, well, I don't know about relax. We could, see, it's interesting. We've got rituals here, and that could just save us some troubles. I'm actually going to keep rituals, which is unusual. I typically forget rituals at the first opportunity. So I think I'm going to forget Year of Perfect Stillness, which is kind of an iconic Earth card. And it is very powerful, but I think in this instance, I'm going to forget it. So we might have a slightly atypical Earth run here. But any spirit that has the potential to go early mages is going to have quite a lot of variance. Okay, the main thing we need to do is remember to place our presence in here. We're going to have all the energy we need for some Tiger Hunting. Intriguingly, we could even use Tiger Hunting in here to just not worry about this. But this land's kind of taken care of, because Tiger Hunting is basically going to do 2 damage until we have more beasts on the board. So we could kill this town, and then we don't have to worry so much about blight. But the event, always the event can ruin us. We could even go in here, and the really nice thing is what we could think about doing. We could go in here just to snipe a little bit with the tiger. It will become blighted this turn, which means we can't then use it. Round and round we go. But I would like to have a second action next turn, especially as this is so cheap. This 2 energy cost is a bargain for this spirit. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with this plays action here, so that next turn we could maybe play both of these if we wanted to. Or gain a new card. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. It's a slightly atypical play, but this very cheap, this is the cheapest possible major power. I suppose, apart from ones that give you energy, but let's not get into that. So, there's only 2 invaders here, so the event card is unlikely to push this incoming damage over 4. It might push it up to 4, but shouldn't push it up beyond that. So this should be safe. So we're gonna, and of course we can't target in there anyway. Silly peasant, we don't have a presence in here. We're gonna want to put a presence in there soon. So we can target in here. I think we're gonna just do a little bit of damage in here. And we get to bring this in and we'll kill the town. That's gonna add fear. And we now get to push our beasts out. So, given that I'm not going to be able to use this ability in this land because it's going to blight, because this has a kind of rigid blight reduction, I'm going to push these into... See, I kept my rituals. We are just fine with this exploring. So I'm actually not going to push any beasts into here. But it would be nice... Actually... Because the beasts have got a kind of a chance of giving us fear for being in with invaders. Let's just push them in there. Let's do that. Okay, cultural assimilation. On each board in a land with exactly one Dahan that has or is adjacent to a city, replace that Dahan with a town. I actually play around this this event way more than most, I think, because I always try and avoid having lone Dahan for this reason. Oh, we've actually got our beasts doing something useful immediately. Oh, so they assimilate. Okay, so the event would have messed us over if this beast hadn't helped us out. Okay, so we now have to deal 2 damage with each beast, so we'll clear this land. That's pretty nice. And now we've actually got a bit of a decision to make. If we destroy a building, we actually lose our beast. And I don't really want to lose our beast, but I really don't want a blight to fall here. We like having a sacred site. It's also potentially good for targeting over here. Well, actually, it means we can target in these 2 lands. So I am actually going to use the beast to destroy a town. And that's because that means we'll only have 3 incoming damage rather than 5. And 5 would, of course, blight this. So, incidentally, we have gained a fear card. And... Okay. Oh well, demoralized is fine anyway. I'm just going to try and find that event. This is all running through, I'm sorry about that. So, alright, game. Alright, okay, it skipped all the way around, but what I wanted to look at was this event here. Reckless Offensive. This is absolutely brutal sometimes. Choose a land with at least 2 Dahan and at least 2 buildings. Each Dahan destroys a building and you add a blight. I've lost to this event placing my final blight, and it's events like this that mean you really want to have as much of a blight margin as possible. Now, I'm probably quite a messy player. I don't mind a bit of blight. My priority is getting rid of those stinking Europeans. And, you know, we can clean up the mess when they're gone. But it's events like that that you kind of want to keep your margins on. You want to keep those margins. So because of that yoink we did earlier with this crazily powerful card, we don't have builds to worry about this turn. So we're kind of in a pretty nice spot. And we did that event cleared this land, so we don't need to think about rituals of destruction this turn. It's kind of unfortunate that the Dahan in this land got turned into a town, because now we're going to have to move these Dahan somewhere if we want to use rituals. So rituals has become a lot less attractive. We could just use it for fear, but that's kind of balmy. Let's not do that. We've got towns being built here. And we've actually kind of got a turn where we're doing nothing. We could remove a blight if we wanted to with Guard the Healing Land. But I would prefer maybe getting these cards back. And we could set up, we could use draw to set up something nice for next turn, like a good counterattack. Now, this is a lovely candidate for making a sacred site with Earth's Vitality, because an explorer is going to build a town, which is a 3 damage ravage, and, well, looky here, we can actually defend that. So I think that's where I'm going to place my presence. In fact, the only way I could get in there is with the Reclaim, so that's lined up quite nicely. We do have a little bit of a nothing turn, though. Any of these other options give us no clearly useful turn to make. And this spirit is the least punishing for the Reclaim. So if you're a player that likes to reclaim a lot, this is the spirit for you. Okay, so I think we want to play draw and Tigers Hunting. So we need to play this. We need to place this from the plays track so we can play 2 cards. And you'll notice I've completely ignored Gift of Strength. I'm sorry about that. There is a playthrough kicking around where I actually use Gift of Strength. I think it's called Peasant's Progress, where it's using the what they're called, progression decks, which are meant to be like a beginner mode, but actually they're kind of tricky. But if you do want to play with this style, it's unlikely to come up in regular play, certainly especially in solo, or in like a single spirit. Then I definitely, recommend checking that out. Okay, so tigers hunting. I guess it's a bit unfortunate. Oh, wait, peasant. We have considerations. I've got no presence in here. This is the one downside of the wonderful tigers hunting, is that we can't use it in most of the map. So I'm gonna quickly change direction. I lied to you all. I lied. It was a horrible lie. So I'm gonna actually switch. I'm not gonna do what I said I was gonna do. I'm gonna use tigers hunting to prevent another build in here, or maybe here. No, let's prevent a build in here. But to target in there, I need to have a presence in this jungle. But I do still need to reclaim, because otherwise I won't have my tigers. So I actually think I'm gonna do this. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. So, yeah, I had to quickly change direction there. I think this is still the plan. The other nice thing is we are kind of potentially powering up our rituals of destruction. No, we're not. I'm getting confused with Keeper there. Keeper has a very similar power, or it feels similar to use. All right, so we've quickly changed direction. Now, because there are Dahan in here, I want to defend in there, rather, so I can prevent this build, or I could prevent this build. Preventing this build is cool because I don't have Dahan in there, I don't have beasts in there or anything right now. This one, we can defend and counterattack successfully. So this feels like the better way of doing this. So we get our beast, and we only need 1 damage in here. And I'm going to gather this beast in here because with tigers hunting, I will get to push 2 beasts out to somewhere hopefully that's more useful. And the other nice thing is, if I push these beasts into here, say, when I add a 3rd beast next time I use tigers hunting, I just clear this land. And the other thing to bear in mind is that I could potentially use Guard the Healing Land just to clear the blight so that I can then use tigers hunting, which is a bit wasteful. Again, it's using 2 actions to do 1 thing, which you generally want to avoid. But if it meant clearing all the interior of buildings, that will mean there are fewer in actual explore steps. So you know how it's great to prevent a build, preventing explorers. Mamma mia, that's what you want. Am I going to try and build towards that? See, our beasts aren't really going to do anything in here. I could split the beasts, because sometimes the beasts are going to have an impact. I'm actually going to push them both in here. The reasoning is that I might get events that, say, do 2 damage a beast, like the one we've already had. We could clear that kind of for free. And the other thing is, this land here, the most important thing, if I was going to repeat play tigers hunting next turn, is to destroy the town to prevent the city build. Clearing this explorer doesn't make much odds, because if they're going to explore into there, they're going to bring a new explorer anyway. So yeah, that's my reasoning. Let's see if the event pays off. No, no beast event. On a coastal land on each board, move a town 1 or 2 lands inland. Okay, interesting. And then we've got a Grim Toll, and it's one that actually does damage to invaders. Unusual. Most of them just do damage to the Dahan, and then we've got Dahan providing some defense. So this coastal town here is actually going to move inland. Let's not put it in here. This is a land we can't do a lot about, but we could put it in here because we've got our rituals of destruction set up here. This is so weird to be playing around this. We could, let's push it into here, because if they explore into there, we can just kind of splat it with rituals of destruction. And generally that's what you want to do when you've got an opportunity to move invaders. You want to just put them where they're least, they're the least problem. Ooh, another sand. Interesting. So when you get these doubled up lands, which is, it does, it's not super unlikely, but it does it in kind of 0 difficulty. It does happen at 0 difficulty. It happens more with when you start getting funky with your adversaries. It really favors defending a ravage, because if you can clear the land on the counterattack, then there's no build, right? So so this is a really high priority defend. I mean, luckily it's all kind of in hand, really. The other thing, though, is that it also makes a kind of what you call a messy defend a bit more worthwhile. So just stacking a load of Dahan, and then a blight will go down, but the Dahan that will survive will counterattack, and you're kind of laughing. But it's a bit more risky with events, because events can kind of scupper that. But, you know, I could just use Draw of the Fruitful Earth and just prevent this build altogether. So let's do that. And let's yoink this out of here, because this with this blight in here, this is still awkward, and we could just rituals all this stuff that's built up in here. So they will build in there. No, they won't. There's no explorer. Excuse me. So we want to make sure we defend in here. To defend in here with our Guard the Healing Land, we're gonna need a presence in here. That's the key thing we want to do. So if we guard the Healing Land over here, we're certainly not clearing this land to do beast things here. So it might be an opportunity to look at another power, or alternatively, we could just clear all this with Rituals of Destruction. This extra 2 fear here makes a big difference to whether this is a worthwhile thing to do with our turn. Because yeah, the danger with this, I mean, I know I've got rid of its innate power that prevents actions, which is a bit of a trap card sometimes. There's always a danger with this spirit if you just defend wonderfully and then you run out of time. But we've got quite a lot on the clock here. So it's tempting to look at another card. We could even look at a minor power. If we defend in here, because we might get a cheaper defend. Because it is a bit of a shame to use guard without removing a blight. So I think I'm going to look at a minor power. We've also kind of gone into plays a little bit earlier than you might typically with this spirit, because we had such a cheap major power. It's quite good to get to 6 if you can. And with events in the game, there are quite a lot of times where having the extra energy is very helpful. Just going to generalize constantly. So I think, yeah, we'll gain a minor power here. So, you know, you always want to gain the power first, and I do forget still. Okay, Entrancing Apparitions is a very cool power. It basically does the same crazy thing that our Draw of the Fruitful Earth does. It potentially can prevent 2 builds. So this is actually, it's a very powerful power, but we've kind of already got that covered. Okay, and we could, as we've still got rituals, we can still think about our elements. So that's mountain, plant, and day, but not really. Cool does have a mountain on, and this is kind of what my instinct is telling me to do. So we've got, this is not really the card for this spirit. It's a damage in a jungle or wetland, and extra damage with beasts. We don't really do that much with beasts, he says, with 2 beast cards in his discard pile. What are you talking about, peasant? I just don't think this is really worth. This becomes a lot better with expansions, this card. With Jagged Earth, anyway. Land of Haunts and Embers is a very cool card, but it's yeah, not really what I'm going to go for here. Note that it does add Blight. These cards that add Blight are typically very powerful, but tricky. It's also Fear in the fast phase, which means you can kind of use it to sneak a win. Another thing to note with cards like this is not the example of this, but if they have elements you like, you don't have to do any of this. This is optional. You could just, as long as you pay for it, right? As long as you play it, you could get those elements. Call to Ferocity, though, is what I'm looking at. It has the mountain, which, but moving that cluster of 3 Dahan around, that's pretty good, especially as we have Rituals Destruction, which likes a cluster of 3. Now, with events in the game, those Dahan could just, they might not be a cluster of 3 anymore. But I think this is what I'm going to go with here. You could make a case for more beasts. You could, and for apparitions. I'm going to go Ferocity. Okay. So this turn, We did. Oh yeah. Also, we didn't get offered a defend card we could use in here, so we are definitely going to be guard the healing landing, and we could go guard rituals, or we could go guard call. But I think let's go guard rituals and clear this land. It will be 3 fear, but we will basically be spending all of our energy doing that. So I think we do want to go down the energy track if we do that. Yeah. So we'll make a sacred site in here for targeting. So we'll go guard. I mean, if we're very lucky, well, this is not that unlikely, but this could be a mountain explorer, so we would just really be let off the hook there. But yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. We've actually got Gift of Strength, except we can't use it. Just ignore Gift of Strength. Just ignore it. That's how I typically play with it. It's like, oh great, I can repeat a 1-cost power. Oh, I don't have a 1-cost power. I guess I won't be repeating that. There's one power in that you can draft that suddenly means you might switch in to using your Gift of Strength innate. I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so in each land with at least 2 explorers, push an explorer to an adjacent land without invaders. So this is but the event is not. This is not helpful because we want all these guys to be in here because we're going to kill them all this turn, and these ones are doomed too. So I'm going to push from here. And the reasoning there is that I'd rather push people around on the coast than have them pushed around in here. We've got lots of nice clear lands. And one land that isn't clear is awkward for us to deal with. So we'll push from here. Oh, it's chosen to go in there. Fine. Oh, is it from every land? Damn it. So, I'm going to go with... Are we going to have any Dahan in there? We're not going to have any Dahan in here. If there was a Dahan in here, we could rely on the Dahan to counterattack and destroy and prevent the build. So I'm going to push in here because we don't want to add builds. No, thank you. Push a beast to an adjacent land with no blight. It deals the damage there. Okay, we can take care of that anyway. So yeah, we'll clear that. Okay, so our Ravage happened, we defended, we cleared. So no builds again, and we got a Jungle Explore. Okay, so we didn't get super lucky. We didn't get the Mountain Explore, but we can just do this, and so that'll be another 3 fear. And it's a funny old spirit. You really gotta. So powerful in defense. Right. So Ravages this turn are in deserts. We don't. There's no one in there. There are builds in both of these. But this is not a problem really because we can. They're going to build a town. We'll have Defend 3 in there just because of having a sacred site, and that we could say the same if we place a presence in here. We can even set up. We can use Call to Ferocity this turn just to drag these Dahan into here and set up for a future Rituals of Destruction and clear this. Or we could even try and do that this turn by reclaiming and just playing Call to Ferocity with our Rituals of Destruction. We could even do that. We've actually got quite a lot of options here. We could use our Tiger's Hunting to destroy this Explorer. Now it seems like a lot to... It seems expensive to spend 2 energy on that, but we will remember there is extra fear in there, and we're adding beasts to the board, and each beast is a potential for kind of more free damage and free fear and so on. And note that we can't use our friendly local beasts in here because of the blight that I'm pointing at. I actually like the idea of using Call to Ferocity to drag these Dahan into here and then use them with Rituals of Destruction. Now, the trouble with Dahan, with events in the game, is that they can just die from the event. But these Dahan are on their own, not in with any invaders, so that should hopefully mean Though I've kind of semi-deliberately never really gone through the event deck and learnt it, but I think these are safe. As long as no invaders kind of go in with them with all their diseases. So I think I have a plan here. I'm going to make sure I place a presence in here. I'm going to go with a reclaim. Though actually there's no rush to place a presence in there. There is actually no rush. Because we're going to have another opportunity next turn. And the trouble with, like, this is probably the one I would go with if I could, like every turn if I could, but it's at 0 range. So maybe I want to think about maybe placing a presence in here so that when I do a 0 range, I'm making a sacred site in here. And this disease is going to prevent a build. So if everything's just left alone, and this was explored, and then this would prevent a town being built, and then the sacred site in here would deal with the ravage. So it's kind of like a bit of long-term planning. So I think I'm going to go with this option here. So we're spending both of our actions to only achieve one thing, but that thing is pretty worthwhile to achieve because we will be destroying the only building that's inland. I know they're going to build a town here, but we can kill the town next turn with our tigers. In fact, we can kill the town and the explorer next turn with our tigers because there's already a tiger in there. Or yeah, let's call it a tiger.
Technically, it's a beast.
Yeah, I know. Okay, new species spread. So we have the option. Either we can let the invasive species bloom, risking a blight in with buildings. But this is one that comes back. And it's interesting with these. Some of these events do come back, and I wonder whether it's good to, you might really want this to proc over and over again. I mean, but this is just an energy. This isn't really worth. But maybe if you're playing a heavy disease game, you might want to go that. No, just something to think about. I almost always want to transmute the worst of the species. Adding a beast to a land with buildings is pretty good. Especially as I have a beast power. I have tigers hunting. That beast is useful for me. But it's going to cost quite a lot of energy. We've already got a moon element. So we could pay for it with actual energy because we're Earth. We do have a lot of energy. And we've got to 6 as well. So we run a good income. We could discard Tigers Hunting from our hand to gain 2 moons. So then we'd only have to pay 1 real energy. But I'd kind of like to use Tigers Hunting next turn. Especially if I'm adding another beast in. Especially in that case. But it's still a decent turn with these. I think we've got such plentiful energy, I'm actually just going to pay with energy. Now, most spirits are not going to have that kind of energy. They're just not going to. But I think in this case, given that Tigers is, is such a useful card for us. So we're going to get to add a beast somewhere. So if I'm thinking about using my Tigers Hunting... what was it? Was it add a beast to a land of buildings? Okay. If I'm thinking about using my Tigers Hunting in here next turn to add a beast, bring in, clear that land, push the beasts maybe into here. We could just add another beast in there, but we would have more beasts than we needed. Almost certainly. Except we can't use them anyway. So yeah, let's add it in here. We're going to want to... And this is nice because if we're using Tigers Hunting's gather of a beast, it's good to have it somewhere where it's adjacent to lots of things. Okay, and no diseases because the Dahan were not in with invaders. That will help you a lot of the time. All right, what's our fear card? Remove a town or explorer from land with sacred site. Okay, so doesn't make much odds here, but I'll remove from here because what it means is that we're a little bit safer if we just leave everything alone. Like this town build that's happening right now. Means that next turn they'll attack with 3 damage rather than 4, and it's a bit risky to be that close to your margins with events in the game. In base game, you can be really you can be that precise about it, but not with events. Okay, so we're going to. Here's something else. Here's another option for us. Oh, the build. We've got the build in here this time. So we've got to decide basically where we're going to plonk our Rituals Destruction trio. And we have a few options. Now, these jungles are ravaging next turn, but this is so under control, it's almost not, you know, it's no biggie. So I think we do want to go in here and destroy this, especially also as this is a land with blight in, so we can't hit it with our tigers. So I think actually it's a pretty straightforward decision. So we'll drag these 3 in, and then we'll use rituals in here, and we'll clear that land and gain 4 fear, which is a fear card. Lovely stuff. Okay, so we're back to the spirit phase. We've got this, so we want to make a sacred site in here to defend in here. We probably want to guard the healing land in here, and by process of elimination, we probably just want to use our tigers to do something useful. We could, or alternatively, we could just use our tigers to defend in here and not bother making a sacred site in here. And actually, there is some value in that, because if we destroy this town, when the Explore comes, which is either going to be Coastal Explore or Mountain Explore, there will be no adjacent... Oh, apart from this one. Okay, shut up, peasant. If this had been the only building in any of these lands, then we would have been preventing that Explore. But no. Okay, I guess the question is, do I have a better target for tigers hunting right now than this? Because we can just defend here. And so there aren't any adjacent tigers to here, so we wouldn't be able to destroy the city. I think if I could destroy that city with tigers hunting, I would. But as I can't destroy in there, I could prevent this build and set up to destroy this with tigers hunting next turn, because we could drag the two, we could drag one beast in here, destroy these explorers, then push all the beasts in here so we could destroy the city. That's pretty nice. And the other thing to know is that this is guaranteed, this mount is guaranteed to come up this turn, because this last stage 2 card is either a mountain or a coastal explorer. So I actually like that plan. We're going to go with defending this with a sacred site, and we're going to tigers hunting guard. So we can actually do that with our 0 range growth option, and we could look at a major power. So this is an unusual, having such a cheap major power is is making me do strange things. Rituals Destruction is very forgettable now, because these lands are all just so under control. So I think I'm going to look at a major power. And of course, remember, look at your major power first. Don't get tempted. Don't get tempted to look up here. All right, what have we been offered? Okay, so we've actually got a couple of mountain green cards. So potential for this ability to be used is just risen a little bit. But, yeah. Don't worry about it. Okay, so. And it is unusual with this spirit. Most spirits, the element choice is so critical to what you pick, but it's kind of quite freeing in a way. So what thresholds are we actually likely to get? We do have quite a lot of mountain stuff going on, so we could get the threshold on... Oh wow, even poisoned land we could get the threshold on. This is another one that places blight, and it does also destroy Dahan, but it's a lot of damage for not much cost. We could even potentially get this threshold, because we do have... This has perfect elements for that threshold. The old mountain green beast, and we're using a lot of tigers hunting. But actually, we'd have to get to 4 plays if we're going to be using tigers hunting for the beast. So, because this doesn't have a mountain on. So yeah, forget that threshold, but 7 damage is a hell of a lot and might be enough just to close this game out. Twisted Flowers Murmur Ultimation is just awesome card. Look at those little flowers. And this is a lot of fear. And removing 2 invaders. Mamma mia. And it actually does have perfect elements for their innate there. For some reason I forgot that plants need daylight. We're unlikely to get the threshold on this, but that's okay. Oh yeah, I was talking about the major power that often means you might, well, that might make you switch into really chasing your innate. Where are you? Where are you? This one here has perfect elements, and this is actually also just really nice. A bit of Dahan movement, and once this particular power gets threshold, it becomes really nice. So yeah, got there in the end. So no fast powers, so they're not going to help us immediately. Yeah, again, I think it's a bit of a toss-up. It's a toss-up. Yeah, we don't have another water card, so Tsunami's a bit out of the question. We're unlikely to get threshold on Cleansing Floods, but we're also unlikely to need it. So I think it's definitely one of these. We have kind of gone with... We're not pushing our power tracks as much as you might usually with this spirit. So I'm kind of inclined to just go for the cheaper one. Because if we play this and then one of our either Tigers or one of our expensive innates, that's 8 energy a turn. But we've got quite a cheap turn this turn. And I guess the other thing to look at is like the immediate utility. I mean, I could just use this turn just to remove this city and gain 4 fear. Which is a hell of a lot of fear. And we could, having this, we could, yeah, I've got ground to a halt here. Let's go with, it's a toss-up. I'm going to go with that because it's not placing Blight. And I'm going to forget Rituals of Destruction. No, I'm going to forget Call to Ferocity. We might still use Rituals of Destruction. And because we've drafted such an expensive power, I'm going to go with a presence from the energy track. Okay, so we are defended in our Ravages. There will be a build here that we could prevent with Tigers. Let's prevent this build with Tigers, and maybe we use... I'm kind of tempted to get my flowers out. But this defend here is also good, but again, it's more defensive. At this land, attack 3 against defend 3, it should be fine. So I think I'm going to go with this, but that's because the 4 fear is what makes it an offensive card. And the ability and removing the final city on the map will mean we could potentially win at Terra 3. So I'm going to go with that. We should generate a lot of fear this turn, because Tigers is going to generate 2 fear as well. Though interestingly, we don't need... We could actually use flowers in here instead of here. We're not going to get that. We're not going to get enough fear. Straight away. Let's push that in there. And we'll push this adjacent because remember, Tigers will drag a beast from an adjacent land anyway, and this gives us a chance of event cards giving us more fear. Just realised how long this one's been. Let's speed up a little bit. On an inland land, replace an explorer with a town. Okay, so we could replace this one, we could replace this one. I'm actually thinking about Twisted Flowersing in here. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. We can now use Tigers Hunting in here. So yeah, we're going to upgrade this to town. It doesn't matter what it is, it's going to get removed. And okay. And then Fear card, Defend with Dahan. These show up. Sometimes you might want to put Dahan hoping that might show up. No coastal lands with buildings. And we've defended. So it's that thing with what I'm saying about being really precise with your defense, how it's dangerous with events. Obviously, once the event's flipped, you can then go back into precision mode. Okay, so Twisted Flowers. We could remove the final city on the map. Let's just double check that's not the win. It's actually getting very close to the win. In fact, I think we might have the win now. Okay, so the Twisted Flowers will give me 4 fear, which is basically just a fear card in single spirit. We then need 3 more fear to get to Terra 3. At Terra 3, no more cities on the map means win. It means win. So in fact, we can win now in the fast phase next turn. So because Tigers Hunting critically, it gets you these extra 2 fears. It's partly why this is such a nice card. We can use that the 2 fear from that, and then destroy a town, getting us the 3rd fear we need to win in the fast phase. So let's do that. We'll remove this city. Oh, terror level was 2 or higher. Phew, for a second, I was worried. For a second, I was worried that it wasn't going to work. I was going to get a rude awakening. So, as the win is in the bag, we're going to do it quickly. So we'll just reclaim, we'll gain some energy, and we will Tigers hunting, and that's going to get us the 3 fear we need to win, because we are that close. So let's not embroider it. So adds a beast. We destroy the town, and that's the last city it's going to ask us to push these. If that's enough. And now that's the win. So thanks so much for watching. If you like the video, like the video. If you have any questions about Spirit Island, just put them in the comments. Very happy to answer them. Also, I want to make a few flappy head videos, which is where I'm just talking through some stuff. I'm working on one at the moment aimed at people that are struggling to win at difficulty 0. But if you have any, I love talking about Spirit Island. I love it. Anyway, that's enough blather. But it's just enough blather. That's just enough blather. So, till next time, keep it spiritual.